Spoken word is bone, they loving the sound. And it's real cause the poetry is under the ground. Every first and third Thursday, we at Joe Reddick's and the vibe is relaxed, no beef, don't sweat it. Spiritual ventilation, intellectual building. Shouts to the coordinator, Mr. Seneca Wilson. Hip-hop poetry, genre unity, bridging the gap between campus and community.
Several months ago, I witnessed a poetry show that left me so inspired. In fact, I was so inspired by this poetry show that I rushed home thinking about making myself a better person. Not just a better poet, but a better person. And I was so inspired by this poetry show that I rushed home and began working on what would inevitably be the greatest poem that I had ever written. My health. I began to write my health. You see, I have struggled with weight issues my entire life. Even losing 50 pounds or more at a time only to gain it back just like that. And they say that fat people are funny, and it's really hard to disagree because there have been plenty, but I'm going to put it to you like this, you see. There's one thing that every overweight person knows, and that is if you struggle with your weight, you are bound to be the butt of many jokes. And so you might as well be funny, right? It's a coping mechanism. But since I believe that poor eating habits and obesity are amongst the greatest concerns affecting our culture today, it is no longer a laughing matter to me. In fact, I think about it more tragically since I am one of those people who are addicted to the foods that are bad for me. And sometimes we need a little help to kick our bad habits, and I find encouragement through poetry. So I left Shihan's show, and like I said, I began cleaning out my pantry. Knowing that this poem could never be squeezed in between the perfect straight blue lines that are found inside a recycled composition notebook, and knowing that this poem would have to somehow force my listeners to read between the proverbial lines and find the place where this poem connects to them. So no, this poem could never be written on paper. This poem would have to be written on my internal organs. Knowing that my body is a temple, a church, and so it is no wonder why we call them organs. Because inside of our bodies, we possess these instruments to play the music of our choosing. And I choose to write this poem and to play this poem from my internal organs. It'll be written on my heart with less cholesterol and played from my lungs with less smoke, with less sugary drinks to chew up my teeth, gums, and throat. It's going to be written on my bladder and on my liver and on my kidneys and on my large and small intestine, and even in those scary places that we just don't want to mention. The dark places and the trenches. It's going to be written in my veins and all my muscles and even on my largest organ of them all. The skin. The skin is the largest human organ, and if I work hard enough and if I'm so blessed, one day this poem will be written on every frown and on every wrinkle, on every scar and on every dimple, on every frown and on every blemish. And one day I'll be so good at this poetry I won't even have to say ish, because I'll just stand up here and make faces. And you will still lift the message from my faces, receiving every sign and all the traces of the places that I've lived and the bases that I've covered in this game of hits and chases with its ups and downs and its chants and choices. And you will still hear me when I'm gone through many silent, chosen voices. Because that's what I think life is all about. I mean the chances and the choices. You live with the choices you make, but you die letting chance dictate your mistakes, and I should admit that I've made a mistake. I said that I wrote this poem essentially for Shihan, but that was somewhat of a lie, because really I've tried to inspire every mind in here, hoping that someday you might find yourself on this stage trying to describe an emotion that you otherwise may try and hide. You see, poetry provokes, and, well, I learned that from one scribe. But this poem could never be for one man. This poem is one man. This poem is alive. Yes. Thank you.
S-Y-R-A-C-U-S-E-N-Y, what it do? Come out and have a good time, let your thoughts just flow, you don't even have to rhyme. The power of the word is to be blessed. Underground poetry spot, UPS.